So first, Andrew, I just wanted to ask generally how things are at Domino at the moment.
Actually, things are really good at the moment. I think we've all been very pleasantly surprised how strongly and how robustly business has come back, particularly since retail was allowed to reopen fully in mid-April. I think certainly initially we saw a very strong response with consumers going into jewelers, particularly around bridal. Perhaps they've been thinking about getting engaged, getting married throughout lockdown, hadn't been able to, and then with retail reopening they were able to do that. And whilst it has quietened off, it's not perhaps quite as frenetic as it was back in May and June. I think we are very pleased with how busy it's been, and also I think generally the level of confidence that seems to be out there amongst our customers and our retailers.
Yeah, brilliant. And you touched on it a little bit there, but I was just wanting to, well, first, I'm going to ask a few questions about just how things have gone over the last 18 months or so. But yeah, I was wanting to talk about sales more specifically. Okay. Sort of, you know, how they went compared to perhaps pre-pandemic, and are they back up to those pre-pandemic levels now?
Yeah. So certainly, I think when lockdown first hit at the end of March, we saw a very significant drop in sales, and that was probably, I think, the most challenging time of the last 18 months was in those initial 2 months when I think people were unsure about what was going to happen. I think at that time the government was there was a very strong message about staying at home and staying remote from other people, and that clearly did have an impact, because within 48 hours, probably 90% of our customers had their doors closed. So that did see a drop off in sales. I think what we were pleased by is that probably within a month we were starting to see levels of business start to pick back up. And I think throughout the pandemic, I think it's been encouraging just how resilient the industry has been in terms of retailers finding ways to trade. I think also what benefited Domino, we do have a level of export business both within Europe and the Far East, and whilst there were times when the UK was maybe going through a pandemic, some of those other countries were not. Maybe they were going through pandemics at different times, different phasings. So actually we were making sales to other countries, which meant that we could have been, if we were just purely reliant on the UK, then we would have been really hard hit. But because we've got other export markets, it did protect us from some of the worst of that. But as I say, I think as time went on, and perhaps retailers and ourselves got more used to the situation, I don't think we didn't see the drop-offs that we did in that initial lockdown back in April and May of last year. So certainly when it came to November and we had that 1 month lockdown, I think there was an absolute determination, particularly from retailers in the run up to Christmas, to find a way of trading through it and keep supplying the end consumer.
And you mentioned then about retailers sort of having to innovate and find new sort of channels of income and stuff like that, and ways to sell. Were you sort of able to help in that respect? Were you able to up the sort of support that you were giving to retailers?
So certainly, I think what we have done as over the period of lockdown is we've invested more in imagery. So if retailers are upping the ante with their websites, we're able to supply them some support for that. Probably the other big change that we made is we took the opportunity over lockdown to invest in a lot of stock, so that if a customer had a sale, then hopefully we would have the stock here ready to send out to them within a few days. So rather than having to place that order and wait for us to manufacture it, we could fulfill that order quickly. So that's one of the decisions we took early on in the pandemic, was to, rather than just trying to control all costs, certain things were worth investing in, and one of those we certainly felt was stock. So I think that did help us throughout the pandemic, that we were able to supply customers quickly and efficiently, rather than always having to make the product from scratch.
And something that surprised me it's sort of something that's come out towards the latter end of the pandemic, and certain businesses, a surprising amount of them have been talking about the different sort of investments in different expansions that they've made over the past year and a half. It seems quite a surprising time for businesses to be doing that sort of thing, but it also seems relatively common. Has Domino done anything like this?
We have. I mean, as I say, I mentioned the idea of investing into stock, but we also invested in a really significant range launch last year called the collection brochure. So as a business, we've always offered something we called our DRM, which is our mount book. But we put something together called the collection, which featured over 400 lines. That involved having to design new products as part of that. It involved pulling the brochure together itself, but also completely overhauling the website. So not just putting new images in, but looking at the navigation, making it easier for the customer to find the way. So I guess, like a lot of retailers, we saw that there was an opportunity that it would be wrong to completely stop development work. And what we wanted to do was to ensure that when business was able to reopen, that we would be in a good place to go to our customers and give them a positive story about what we'd done, and hopefully how we were going to be able to help them in the future.
And I hope that's paying off now as well.
I would definitely say, but certainly I think the benefit of having stock in place, and I think the benefit of what we've done with the website has absolutely paid dividends. I think possibly more than anything else, what the various lockdowns have done, it has accelerated that digital curve. So it's probably meant that we've all moved on 2 or 3 years probably in terms of speed of digital. I mean, if you'd said to me 2 years ago that I would be having a consultation with my GP rather than going into the doctors, I'd be like, I can't see that happening. But that now is commonplace, that before you go and see your GP, very often you're talking to them on a Zoom call on your mobile. And I think that it really has revolutionized what's happening in the digital world.
And my next question was actually going to be if there's any sort of lessons that Domino has learned during the pandemic that it's going to be able to take forward. And I mean, I suppose what you were just talking about could be the answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think very much what he did, I think, was to reaffirm just, I think, how important that digital route will be in the future. I think the only caveat to that, the only thing I would say, we did some research recently with the end consumer to understand the process and the journey that they go through when they're deciding how to buy a piece of bridal jewellery. And perhaps what was initially interesting was that whereas a few years ago, I think if somebody was looking perhaps where to buy a piece of bridal jewellery, they might speak to friends, family, they'll still do that, but very much they will also go online. But importantly, what came through in that research is just how important that relationship with the retailer is. That yes, they do want to go online and have a look, but actually a significant proportion of respondents on this research want to go into retailer. They want to have that confidence of being sat with somebody who can take them through the process, explain to them the benefits of different types of alloys or diamonds, because most people probably are only going to buy one engagement ring in their lifetime, one wedding ring, some slightly more. And for most people, it's a very significant investment. You can be a couple of £1,000, £3,000, £10,000. And I still believe that having that face-to-face contact is hugely important. So whilst I think, yes, digital is important, what this research showed is that, yes, you've got to have digital, but what you also need is that knowledgeable, advice-led sale that you get when you go into a retailer. And
it's been, in fact, I think it's been exactly a month today as we're speaking, since quote-unquote Freedom Day. Do you feel like things are back where sort of, where we want them to be? I'm not sure if there was a certain sort of hollow feeling to Freedom Day because of the sort of rising cases around then and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like maybe it's going to take the Christmas period or something like that to sort of really kick things back into gear?
Yeah, I mean, I think As I say, we definitely saw a change when non-essential retail was allowed to open back in April, and I guess as time's gone on, we've seen gradual improvements of what's going on. So when pubs were allowed to start opening, when you didn't, and certainly I think when you didn't have to wear masks, and there wasn't the controls in terms of number of people either visiting homes or leisure venues, I think there is a change, and I think we are noticing that people's behaviour is moving much more to perhaps what it was 18 months ago. So I'm starting to notice that maybe a few weeks ago, whereas if I was on a train or if I was going into a supermarket, most people would be masked up. Whereas I think what we're starting to see is that change. So I think we are starting to see people relax and start and for their behaviour to return to something like normal. But I think you're right. I think it will take more time yet, and it probably will take the autumn before I think people are confident to perhaps really go back to behaviour of 18 months, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I really hope we're able to spend a good amount of time out of lockdown now to give people that confidence. Because we keep going back in and out.
I guess like most people, I'm desperately hopeful that we don't have to have another full lockdown. Yes, there might need to be perhaps limitation on gatherings, but I certainly hope we don't need to use such a blunt tool as saying, okay, that whole sector has to close. I sincerely hope that we are beyond that, and it will be more minor adjustments than something maybe as blunt as that.
Absolutely. And on a lighter note, perhaps, are there any particular jewellery trends that Domino is sort of expecting to see over the next 6 or 12 months?
I mean, certainly, I think one of the things that we've seen throughout lockdown, and we've probably seen, I think, improving or increasing, I should say, over the last 2 or 3 years, is probably that trend for personalisation. So that whether that is somebody going into a jeweller and wanting to design their own piece of jewellery, or whether it's taking a piece of jewellery that already exists and maybe they want to have it engraved and they want to have it textured, or this concept of stacking jewellery together, that they want to have something that very much reflects, I think, their personality. And that is a trend that we've seen, and I think we see that trend likely to increase over the next couple of years. I think we are seeing a growth in also some shapes of stone, so such as ovals and pears. Again, I think where people perhaps want something different to the sort of traditional brilliant cut or princess, we're starting to see a rise in some of those. And we've I think more recently had really good interest in coloured stone. So one of the things that I think will do well this autumn is coloured, and not just the classic colour when you think of ruby, emerald and sapphire, but also some of the semi-precious stones, such as morganite, aquamarine, where we've added a little bit of diamond detail to it. So it gives it that bit of luxury feel, but it represents excellent value for money because it is a semi-precious stone that's at the heart of the product.
Yeah, and last one from me then, just moving forward, I'm wondering if Domino has got any plans that you can discuss.
I mean, I think our focus will continue to be to focus on the retailer and how we can support them. So probably the most immediate thing is that we've got 3 key product launches for the autumn. So we'll be launching those in I think a couple of weeks' time. So we have something we call the Rosabella collection, which is very much a classic take on jewellery. So it's diamonds. It's about line bracelets, necklaces, simple pendants and earrings, and then we've got ranges such as Anthology, which involve more colour, so not just use of coloured stones, but 18 karat yellow and rose gold. And they come in a series of suites, each of which is individually designed. So there are some simpler pieces that are more affordable, and then I guess what you might call more statement or wow pieces that are there, that if you want to sort of stop somebody in the street as they're walking past your window, it's ideal for that type of thing, really. I think also what we will be doing more of is investing in the website. I think we're hopeful that we will be able to deliver some training packages via the website. So where it's perhaps been more difficult to get customers to come into here, so we can show them what we do, or to do the training here, I think we're looking at how we can deliver that online, so that we can share some of what we've done in the past via the website, as opposed to them having to come into Birmingham. We're also looking at the idea of lab grown. We've got a couple of trials running at the moment. Again, I think lab grown is probably one of those that if we were having this conversation maybe 18 months ago, it's probably something that we would have said, look, not at the moment. But I think it has changed so much, and so we are looking, or we are running a couple of trials at the moment to see if that is something that we should launch to our wider customer base. Oh,
that's really exciting! Loads of changes coming in.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's plenty in the pipeline that we've got coming for this year, and speaking to retailers, I think that there does feel like there is a level of confidence for this autumn. I think what has been really encouraging is that sales have continued to be good throughout the summer. We do often see a lull in the August period with people taking holidays, but sales are very, very definitely better this August than I think we've probably seen for some sort of 4 or 5 years. So I think, yeah, we are hopeful that that will continue into the autumn. I think we're also hopeful that, because last year Christmas ended up being kind of derailed, we went from at one point, I think we were all going to be able to spend 5 days together, to I think in the end it was, well, you can meet Christmas Day. So I also feel that people will want to make the most of this Christmas. They will want to gather as family and friends, and maybe that will also see an increase in gifting, and that will benefit jewellery.
I'll be keeping my fingers crossed. Right, Andrew, lovely to meet you. Thanks so much for your time.
No worries. All right.
Brilliant.
Take care.
Thanks very much. Bye.